Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's be honest. When you're diving into Azure, especially if you're studying for something like the AZ-900 exam, you see words like identity, governance, and compliance. And it can feel like a lot. But stick with me, because we're going to demystify it all. We're going to start by flipping the script on what you even think a security perimeter is.
You know, for the longest time, security was all about building a digital fortress, a strong network wall around everything. But that world is kind of gone. We're all working from everywhere, on every device, so that old perimeter, it's more like Swiss cheese now. The real front line, the new perimeter, is identity. It's not about where you are, it's about proving who you are. And that one simple shift, well, it changes absolutely everything.
And why is this such a big deal? Well, get this. Microsoft says that over 95% of Fortune 500 companies are on Azure. So when you get a handle on these security concepts, you're not just learning some abstract theory. You're learning the exact skills needed to protect the infrastructure of the biggest, most important companies in the world. The stakes are pretty high, right?
So, let's dig into that first and most critical layer, identity. This is our foundation. It's where security begins. Because before we can decide what someone can do, we have to answer the most basic question of all. Who are you? Now, the command center for all of this is Azure Active Directory, which you'll also see called Entra ID these days. Just think of it as the ultimate bouncer for your entire cloud setup. It's the service that manages all your people, all your groups, and it's the thing that makes sure they can securely connect to everything they need, whether it's Microsoft 365 or some other app.
All right, here's where we need to get two key ideas straight, because they get mixed up all the time. Authentication and authorization. Authentication, or Auth-N for short, is just proving who you are. It's you showing your ID to the bouncer at the door. But authorization, Auth-Z, that's about what you're allowed to do once you're inside. Do you have a general admission ticket, or do you have the key to the VIP room? Azure AD handles both sides of that coin.
So how do we make that showing your ID part way stronger? With multi-factor authentication, or MFA. The idea couldn't be simpler, really. You combine something you know, like your password, with something you have, like a code on your phone. It's just one extra step, but the result? It's incredible. Microsoft's data shows this one thing stops 99.9% of account compromise attacks. It's probably the single most effective security measure you can turn on.
Next up, let's talk about governance. Look, once you've let people through the door, you can't just have a free-for-all. That would be total chaos. You need rules. You need guardrails that control what people can do, where they can do it, and how they should be doing it. That, in a nutshell, is what governance is all about.
And this brings us right to the heart of the challenge. I mean, if you've got a tiny setup, sure, you can probably manage it by hand. But what happens when you have thousands of virtual machines, hundreds of users, and dozens of teams all working at once? How in the world do you enforce your rules consistently across the board without bringing everything to a screeching halt?
Well, this is where Azure's governance tools become your absolute best friends. First, you have Azure Policy. Think of this as your cloud rulebook. You can make rules like, hey, nobody is allowed to create resources outside of the West US region. Then there's Azure Blueprints. This is like a one-click starter kit for a new project that bundles together all the right policies and permissions from the get-go. And finally, resource locks. Oh man, these are a lifesaver. They're a simple way to prevent someone from accidentally deleting or changing your most important stuff.
Now, to make all this work, you have to understand the hierarchy. It's how you apply these rules with precision. At the very top, you have management groups, which let you set policies for your whole company. Under that, you have subscriptions, which are great for organizing by department or big projects. And then at the bottom, you have resource groups, which just hold all the related pieces for a single app. This structure is what gives you that fine-tuned control over everything.
Okay, so we've figured out who people are, we've set the rules with governance, but you know, there's one last crucial layer. You have to be able to prove it. This is compliance. This is all about showing the outside world, your customers, your auditors, the regulators, that you are in fact secure and you are playing by the rules.
And this isn't just some academic exercise. Check out this quote from a real user on a Microsoft forum. It perfectly captures the issue. It's not enough to just be compliant inside your own company. When a client from Europe asks if you meet GDPR standards, you better have a good answer and you better have the paperwork to back it up. It's a fundamental part of doing business today.
Now, the great news here is that Azure does a ton of the heavy lifting for you. Seriously, it has one of the biggest collections of compliance certifications of any cloud provider out there. We're talking global standards like ISO, US government standards like FedRAMP, industry-specific ones for healthcare like HIPAA, and of course, regional laws like GDPR. This means Azure gives you the certified compliant foundation you need to build on top of.
So where do you find the proof? Where are the receipts? The one place you need to know is the Microsoft Service Trust Portal. This is your treasure chest. It's where you can download all of Microsoft's official audit reports and compliance guides that you can use for your own assessments. You can literally hand these reports to your auditors and your customers.
Okay, this all leads us to what is maybe the single most important concept in all of cloud computing. It ties everything we've talked about together. It's called the shared responsibility model. Because security and compliance in the cloud, it's not all on Microsoft. It's a partnership.
And the division of labor is actually pretty simple when you break it down. Microsoft is responsible for the security of the cloud. That's the physical stuff. The data centers with their guards and fences, the network, the servers. But you, as the customer, are always responsible for security in the cloud. That means your data, your devices, and, you guessed it, your accounts and how you manage access. All that identity and governance stuff we just talked about, that's on you.
Which leaves us with one last really critical thought to chew on. You can have the best governance policies in the world. You can be compliant with every standard under the sun. But if you misconfigure your identity rules and an attacker gets in through a wide-open door you left unlocked, who is ultimately responsible? The shared responsibility model gives us a clear answer. At the end of the day, that part is on you. And that's why understanding these three pillars, identity, governance, and compliance, is the key to building a truly secure future in the cloud.